but it's been in operation for a long time, and even though it's operating quite well now, we just thought it's probably better to replace it with something that CGA had already started to look into before we took them over. And this should actually allow us to increase the throughput, though, because it will be a slightly bigger SAG mill and with a bigger power capacity. Employment. This is obviously very important for anybody that lives around a mine site and for any country. And there's close to 1,600 people that are either directly or indirectly employed by this operation. And you know, we pay very good wages, and the spin-off benefits of having these people employed there is very beneficial as well. This is basically the mine layout. Somebody was asking me today whether we still had our airstrip there. We do. It's an Amaroy Aerodome, I guess they call it. We flew in there Wednesday, and it actually makes travel to Masbate quite easy. It's a short flight from Manila onto the airstrip, and then you're basically right on the property. I know a lot of the workers that the employment. This is obviously very important for anybody that lives around a mine site and for any country. And there's close to 1,600 people that are either directly or indirectly employed by this operation. And you know, we pay very good wages, and the spin-off benefits of having these people employed there is very beneficial as well. This is basically the mine layout. Somebody was asking me today whether we still had our airstrip there. We do. It's an Amaroy Aerodome, I guess they call it. We flew in there Wednesday, and it actually makes travel to Masbate quite easy. It's a short flight from Manila onto the airstrip, and then you're basically right on the property. I know a lot of the workers that the expats certainly fly in that way, as do you know, E&Y and Price Waterhouse, I guess, when they're doing their audit. There's also, I believe, a boat that will bring people in, so it's very easy access to the operation, which is another big plus as well. It's got a very large layout. It's currently the two pits they're mining are Main Vein in Colorado. We think we'll be mining there for a long time. The original reserve estimate was showing about a 15-year mine life. One thing we are currently doing actually is we've been doing a metallurgical test program for quite a few months now, where we're spending about $2 million to redo a lot of the metallurgical test work that was previously done to see if there's a better way to increase recoveries at that operation. One thing that the old feasibility showed was that recoveries of the primary ore were only around 72%, and oxide ores are up around the high 80s. And so our metallurgist is looking to see if there's a different process that can be used to improve the recoveries there, which obviously, if you can recover more of the gold that you're putting through the mill, the more you'll produce with the same amount of costs and energy, which would then lead to lower cash costs. One thing that really impressed us about CGA and the group here that was running the operation was their dedication to community relations, because that's something that's very important to B2. We have a strong philosophy within our company, and I think this comes from coming from Canada. We have a large resource industry, and we are quite open to foreign investment. But one thing we like to see, and one thing that we do when we're in other countries, is to share the mineral wealth with the country that you're mining in. We're obviously very aware that, you know, that wealth is in the country we're in, and we feel that we provide a benefit because through our expertise, we think we can mine more efficiently and get more of the resources that are locked up there than if we weren't there. And so what we then do is share some of those profits with the local community and the governments, and hopefully leave a lasting legacy that will keep us as a topic of conversation and well thought of, you know, in the future. That even when we finish mining and done our reclamation, people will be happy that we were there. This is a list, I guess, of the key things that Masbate and Gold Mine has funded. And I'll talk a bit more about this as we go through. But obviously health and education, I think, are two of the key things that any mining company should focus on. And frankly, any industry should do that for any area they operate in, whether you're a forestry company or a manufacturer. I think you really should help the local communities in these areas. Skill training was one of the things that they've done, was to, there are always a lot of people that are willing to work hard. You just need to provide them with the proper skills and the opportunity to show that. And that's one thing that CGA has been doing. Water development is very important, not only in the Philippines but in Nicaragua. That we spent a lot of money on drilling water wells. My understanding here is that they've put in, I think, almost 12 kilometers worth of piping to ship water around the local areas, and there's close to 190 area or disposal points where people can get clean water to help them with their livelihood. So that's always one of the very important things, I think, in a lot of these communities, especially the more rural ones. There's also been, I know that we've done a lot of repair work and built some road construction to improve the infrastructure around the countryside. That's something that will benefit the local communities even when we've left. So that's important, and we will continue to look at different projects there as well. One thing that I think is great is that we've built a covered stadium there, so even when it rains, people can still play volleyball and basketball. They don't have to worry about the weather. Coming from Vancouver, we're a very rainy city, so I do like playing my sports, and it was very disappointing to me as a child growing up when I'd look outside and think, oh, no sports today. So I think that's something that a lot of the local people will appreciate. The other thing we've done is supported a lot of scholarship programs. And one thing that was interesting, on the mine tour on Wednesday, I was actually getting driven around by a new mining engineer that was the first person to go through on a scholarship that was funded by CGA, or the Masbate project. And now he's working at the Masbate gold mine, and it's great to see that happen. I think our industry is certainly lacking mining engineers, and it's something that we're also sponsoring in countries like Namibia, because North America and Europe is putting out fewer and fewer mining engineers, and there's a real gap between, I guess, the older generation that's still working. We've got one guy working at one of our projects in construction that's 75 years old. So it's good to see some young blood coming in, and hopefully the Philippines, from the education system I've seen here, can supply the industry with a lot more mining engineers in the future. And I know certainly with our company, we'll look to give those people opportunities at our other operations around the world. School buildings, I think this is a pretty dramatic picture here if you look at the before and after. Obviously, having a good environment that you can learn in is important, and so it's great that Masbate has done that. I know that from looking at some of the data, apparently they've built like 19 rooms, and they've repaired a lot of other ones, because I really do believe for any country the future has to be through education. And once you educate, you then have to make sure you give those people an opportunity to find a job, and I think that's one of the important things in the mining industry. Because we don't just hire mining engineers and geologists, we have accountants, bookkeepers, lawyers. I mean, it's an endless amount of people, and I will add one thing here, that when I went to Nicaragua, it was actually very difficult to find good accountants there, and it was certainly something that we've now started to do, where there was a woman who grew up in Nicaragua and was living in Vancouver, and she's now relocated back to Nicaragua, and she's an accountant, and she's actually doing a mentoring program where we bring in, she's focused on young mothers, like 17-year-old, 18-year-old moms who really don't have a future unless you're willing to give them a chance to learn and get paid to work in your operation. So that's something she started with our support, of course, but it was her idea, and it's working really well down there. Of course, chapels and rectories are important, that we help the local religious community also, you know, keep their churches and that in good repair. I think that's an important thing to do as well. And of course, cultural affairs. I know how important, actually it's always amazed me, you know, that we've got quite a few Filipinos in Vancouver, and a lot of them come over to be nannies, and we hired a Filipino to be our nanny to our boys, but she's become a good friend. And I always noticed how much she liked to sing when she was doing work. And you know, one thing I've learned while I've been here is that a lot of Filipinos are very good singers, actually.